7th-round rookie Quinn Ewers ahead of Sunday's game against the Bengals. Tua may have already played his final game for the franchise that handed him a $212 million contract in 2024. Here's Coach Mike McDaniel on the decision.
I understand the pros and cons of, all the different formats of the way I play this out, but, I need convicted quarterback play. This team needs convicted quarterback play. I thought Quinn gave us the best chance to do that, and that's why I did it.
Dan, is this the right decision?
Yeah, it was needed. It was time for where this season sits right now. I think the questions for the forward, because that's going to be the really big thing, not only in Miami and the NFL, are, one, who is Tua right now as a player? Right now, after all the physical injuries and certainly the head injuries, who is he? Because there's that 3-year stretch from 2022 to 2024. He's a top 10 quarterback. 2023, he's an MVP candidate. He was playing high-level football. This year, it's fallen off. So why? Why is it falling off so much this year? I think there's a little bit more than just the production also in this decision. And then the second thing is, if you take Tua outside of this Mike McDaniel system that's very specific to Tua and Tua very specific to it, what kind of play are you getting? Can he operate and execute a system that maybe isn't the same as the one Mike McDaniel runs?
Which brings one to the next question, Hawk, which is if he has played his last snap for the Miami Dolphins, will there be a line of suitors out there for Tua Tagovailoa?
I don't know if there'll be like a huge line. I don't think he'll make anything close to what he's making in Miami, but I do think Tua is a better quarterback than some of the options current organizations have, right? So I think there's still a chance for him to start. When I'm looking in Miami, the question is, have we seen the best of Tua? If that answer is yes, is it enough? That answer is no for Miami, and I think the overwhelming opinion is that it hasn't been enough. Even when Mike McDaniel got the job and Tua was the quarterback, the question was, do you continue to move on with Tua? It was, I can get the most out of him as Mike McDaniel, and I think he has. I think Tua's played his best football under the Mike McDaniel system, but is Tua the problem solver, or is he the scheme beneficiary? And if he's a scheme beneficiary, can you get somebody who's a little further along in the development or a little better of a quarterback or opportunity and then get even more on the back end?
When McDaniel's just talking about giving us the best chance to win, as Quinn Ewers, you showed that in practice, regardless of what happens in these last 3 games for the Miami Dolphins, they're going to draft a quarterback this coming year. So to me, I don't necessarily see the reason to bench Tua, especially if you're playing the long game when it comes to leverage. Like if I'm trying, this guy has a massive cap hit. I think it's like $99 million in the next 2 years. If his cap hit is that big, but you need to move on, you understand that. I think a lot of the world does, but there's 32 teams. Maybe 1 or 2 don't, and they're willing to take a chance on him, have a guy come in under him and learn. You're kind of losing that leverage now when this doesn't matter. You're out of the playoffs. Like your season's done in 3 weeks.
And how about the future in Miami? I mean, is Mike McDaniel the future in Miami?
I have no clue. So when the GM goes out in the middle of the year and all the chaos is kind of happening around Miami, whether it's press conferences going on, you hear the players talking about other players, you see Tua answer stuff, you see Mike McDaniel's. Is he the right guy for the culture there? So when the GM goes, it's like, all right, the target, they're going to zero in somewhere. Is it Mike McDaniel's? That was kind of the feeling. But I don't see a team that quit on Mike McDaniel's when they went on that 5-game win streak. Now you have Mike McDaniel sitting at the podium saying, we need conviction at the quarterback spot. So I would be curious with Dan. It's like, from what you see from the quarterback play, when a head coach goes out there and says, I need more conviction from the QB spot, like what would he be talking about? If we're now starting to zero in, it seems like it's Tua being the issue.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a conviction not only on the field, but off the field. I think there's a conviction. I've talked about it with Tua, like just not cutting the ball loose. And so there's that reality of there's a hesitancy at times from the quarterback play. It's also a conviction of it seems like Mike McDaniel has dug in to get this team to where they at least had meaningful games in December. And it's almost like, quarterback, I want you to come along with me. And it feels like that maybe wasn't the case.
Let's deal with the other side of this game, because there's also quarterback questions there, and that involves Joe Burrow, Cincinnati's franchise quarterback, one of the best in the sport, continues to raise questions about his future with the team through a series of what can only be described as very ambiguous answers.
Is there any world in your mind where you're not the quarterback of the Bengals next year?
I can't see that, no.
Have you ever thought about the possibility of not being the quarterback here during your career, or?
You think about a lot of things.
Think about a lot. I'll start on this side. What do we make of that?
Yeah, last week when he's talking about everything going on And then they kind of ask him, like, do you see a world? And then they kind of zero in more on, like, hey, have you ever thought about it? And he kind of takes a moment to think about it. And he's like, yeah, man, I think about a lot of things. To me, I feel like Joe wants to get out of Cincinnati. I feel like he wants a better situation. And whether or not it's strong-arming the front office to make something happen around him that he wants to see, or he's trying to tell everybody else that, hey, I'm trying to figure out a way to get out of here, hit up my agent right now.
What do you think? Danny, what is Joe Burrow telling us? What is it he is sitting there and saying by not saying?
1, come get me. 2, I'm not staying here. I don't care what anyone says. He's not saying this stuff just to share it on a diary.
Right.
He's saying it publicly to make a clear declaration of this is not going the way I want it to. Losing sucks. It sucks. And then you're getting hurt all the time. How many teams? This is how the league works. How many teams should not call or have the plan to call Cincinnati and
Like
say
5. Yeah.
Okay. So every team, basically in the NFL, outside of let's give it 8 to be high,
Sure.
should be having conversations right now. How do we package this together? Are we going to take our quarterback and 2 or 3 first-round picks and call Cincinnati and say, here? And I understand it from the Cincinnati fans' perspective. If I were the Cincinnati Bengals, I wouldn't want to get rid of him either. Duh. But there's a reality where he's making a very clear declaration. It's not going to continue to go this way with me as the quarterback.
It's definitely a declaration because it's easy to say, do you see yourself playing here next year? Yes. Have you ever thought about playing for another team? No. Those weren't the answers that he gave. That's what every player would say in that situation if they weren't trying to stir something up. But that being said, at some point, this is now their 3rd year missing the playoffs in a row. I played with Andy Dalton. He went to the playoffs 6 years in a row.
Stop.
And you can say what you want, but it's the reality of the situation.
I saw you think about that before you said it.
Because
Andy Dalton had a Hall of Fame defensive
You're
tackle.
right, because the money wasn't all on offense. You didn't give all the money to the quarterback. So that's what happens. This is like how it works. And even with the Tua conversation, if everything needs to be perfect for you, then it's going to be tough being the guy that you say you are.
Yeah, we're
got a
talking
quick word
about
from Taylor.
lineups of Joe Burrow and Tua. Like Tua Tagovailoa is not Sperry Farms. Joe Burrow, that's
Absolutely.
Disney World, buddy. That's the kind of lines you're looking at with Joe Burrow. Like
Grand Floridian.
Every team that needs a quarterback will give up the world for Joe Burrow.
No question.
Joe Burrow understands that. So now the Bengals have 2 choices: make drastic moves in the offseason or get rid of their franchise generational talent quarterback.